Hey, happy fall, y'all. But it is November. We are right in the middle of it. This is one of my favorite weeks. Everybody's out. We're working on projects. We're harvesting. We're bringing the crops in. We're trying to get to fulfillment. The good news is by Wednesday afternoon, I promise you, it's all going to start to slow down just a little bit. And more importantly, I promise you, your customers are never going to call Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon. All your products are going to go well, and all of your installs are going to go absolutely the way that you planned them. No need for a second or a third trip back to your local distributor. Absolutely none. So we're going to keep that positive mental attitude going. I got some great news. The field crew is expanding by one today. We're going to bring in a real special friend. So welcome in. It's November. This is the Intellinet Network Solutions November webinar where we connect great people with even better products. And it really couldn't be any more true than what we're doing here today. I am looking for my mouse, and we're going to get into the next slide where I get to talk about somebody that means an awful lot to me. We're going to talk today about distribution decisions, and I've got him. He's here, and you'll see why he's so cool and such an important area. He's actually on screen. Literally, the mic is still hot after wrapping up a power cast today. But let's talk a little bit about distribution decisions in about 3, 4 slides, where we've got industry legend Gary Usher on why selecting the right distributor can make a huge difference for you this upcoming season. Gary, it's good to see you. I'll do the formal introduction, but I see the head nod and thank you. We're going to talk to you about that TAA advantage. Here we're at Intellinet, we want to help you grow, and we want to help you get into new and different types of projects that are there. So we'll talk to you a little bit about that. And then, my boy Don's here, and Don always brings the heat. We're going to talk and do a deep dive on TA certified 2.5 gig and 10 gig switches. We're going to talk to you really about what powerful and compliant and future ready means there. The big reason why I'm here and why Intellinet's here producing this webinar is we understand the everyday installer. Everything that we talk about today are products for that daily use. It's not a deep catalog of, hey, just in case, but this lineup focuses on SKUs that you're using every single day, and they reflect everything that you're doing in the current environment beyond just that overall distribution that's out there. We've hand selected each webinar talks about key SKUs for installers, things that you're going to habitually purchase and form the backbone of really good areas. But the biggest thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk to you about your daily installation needs and how to grow. So why partner with Intellinet? Well, we're your all-in-one solution provider. 90% of your active and passive networking needs are right here within Intellinet. And we've got this great streamlined purchasing process. This allows you to go to your local distributors. We've got a great representative from Powerhouse today to talk to you about that. And you get that award-winning warranty with it, and really reliable quality. And we're backed by some of the best support. He's here. How many times do you have the head of customer service here on a webinar taking live questions and available for calls right after? So one of the big reasons today with Intellinet that you want to join in with us isn't just because of switches. I mean, we do that. We've got some great PoE products, but we back that up with high speed, future ready products that are out there, fiber optic patch cables, and we're getting into just insane speeds at 25 gig and 40 gig. We do the standard Cat 5e if you still need it and want to go to the Wayback Machine. Cat 6 is kind of that standard soup du jour. Cat 6a if you're feeling fancy. Cat 8 if you're extra. But then you bring that in with those patch panels, the racks, the cabinets, the tools, and the testers. It is a cornucopia as we get into November. It is a cornucopia products and a full serving, including the sweet potatoes and the yams. So we're going to talk a lot today about what it means to finish this year profitable and where you can start to cast, the sales and the direction for a really amazing first quarter next year. Do me a favor though. I'd love for you to welcome in this is a really amazing guy. We've got Powerhouse Alliance and Mr. Gary Usher Jr. joining the field crew. If you don't know Gary, Here he is. And Gary, welcome in. It's good to see you.
Hi, you guys. I mean, that's such a fantastic intro, Pete. Thank you so much. I mean, we do know each other for years going back. I thought you were talking about Dawn, though, really, when you were saying, hey, man, that mic is hot, special guests and all that stuff. But no, thank you so much for that kind intro. And representing the Powerhouse Alliance is certainly near and dear to my heart. You as well. Going back to, distro very, very well. And I can't, for the community in general, thank you so much for that kind of support, because I'd be remiss to think that nobody out there, especially our installers, don't know or aren't partnered with some form of distribution. So I don't know how far or how back to go and preface a conversation like this. We hope that you're using distro already. There are choices out there. Why is one better than the other? It comes down to the people, Pete. You and I, in the early days of the Powerhouse organization, back in the West Coast, especially with Volutone and things like that, we knew we needed to form some sort of an alliance, to acquire best pricing for our installers, to hammer out a deal and hammer out a package for these guys that trickle down into pricing. So maybe distro does, in its very rudimentary part of this, start from pricing, getting the best deal, buying a lot of products so I can
Well,
get a group
hold,
together to enjoy that, right?
and I love you because you're actually already to my next slide. Do me a favor though, just for a quick sec. You came originally from one of the very first Powerhouse Alliance members. Before it was just a bunch of independent distributors. In fact, I don't know if you can see the attendee list, Gary. We'll ask Rudy to give a big hands up virtually for us, but Rudy Talani's here from Davis
Nice.
Distribution. This is one of the reasons why we love the guys from. Oh, what's up, Rudy? Got
There
the
he is.
got the hands up from Rudy. That's awesome. But look, you're being really kind, and I asked you to keep it at a 30,000 foot. But this is actually that brag moment of, all the goodness that comes out of Powerhouse. We've got distributors here working with great vendors to get ideas that they can carry back to the counter. But who exactly is Powerhouse? And why don't you kind of
Right.
start in that Northeast and work over and kind of what the group does and what you do with the group.
Right. Well, 9 different distributors within the organization. It has been around for 25 years. There's been a variance in different as that landscape has changed, but not so much. I really
No.
consider the Powerhouse Alliance like a wholesome, independent group of guys that have survived. And you know what? And we talk profit margins in a sense, like every one of our installers is working off of a 12 or a 15% margin, or where. So is the distribution angle, and I only equate that to the growth over the last 20 years. Rudy, you guys, that is such a great example of a distributor that has grown purely through the acquisition and passion for product. And look at them, and they continue to look for ends and the kind of partnerships with vendors that enhance the add-on value over the counter of what distro is all about. And they are a prime example of why they've done so great. Look, they just did a great dealer experience back in August, I think, September, and like drew all these people and are really making a mark. When Pete, you asked about, what does the East Coast look like with Pro Audio and UI Supply coming out of New Jersey area and stuff like that. These are densified areas, and there is competition. So from a distro point of view, my distro hat, we have to be better. Our personnel has to be. It's not even that their technical prowess is so much better than somebody else's. It's just the human element. You're coming in and you have clients as an installer, and we're having these daily conversations over donuts and coffee and all the normal stuff, but they hit us first. We talk about where that particular job might be ending for them and what's next for them. But then we're also talking about to the installer, what do they got on the agenda? Why did you come in today? Well, I got to start this job. I got to start the new job. And we're partners. We're
Uh,
partners with you and we talked about monikers for today's conversation, and how to put a tagline into all of this discussion. But you probably are already using a distro partner, and it's not just in product, guys, and it's not in just design. It's where
right.
your monetary partner, where there's credit extension, there's things that we're involved with. From It's not just the job, it's your whole business health. So I do feel that moving west, Pete, when we're talking about Pioneer in 21st century and AV Express, talk about densifying. Texas is very densified, and how to put up new locations for pulling off the freeway and getting your product. I want to get into that conversation about how Intellinet is expanding their SKU mix, because that's important to us. That's important. I love to do the marketing angle and everything else. How to have that experience choosing from per category in our locations. But you move going into Mountain West for an example, very, very strong in what they've done. They're in Seattle and Portland and Northern California. So there's a bit of that expansion. There's a bit of how Powerhouse Alliance helps these independent distributors flourish. We do trainings like experts like you. There's many, obviously, from an installer point of view, everybody wants your money. Everybody wants the business that you're attracting. I will rest on our laurels by saying, listen, we are independent. We're not owned by some super huge board of director kind of thing. I don't know if that's attractive or not. I don't mean to say that as like we're not as technical, but the SKU mix that we have in these locations goes into the hundreds of vendors. So we're in the right place. You're in the right place. Look, we have Alarmex as well, and
I
that
was
goes
just
into
gonna.
fire and Berg. And if you don't already know of a Powerhouse Alliance member, I'd love to talk more with you. And thank you for the little soapbox there, and a great picture of me there in Cedia, which kind of is a testament to kind of our big booth at the right location for you guys to be aware of who we are. But going forward, Pete, here to support what you do, and you're the
Oh, I
technical expert,
appreciate it.
buddy.
No, I appreciate it. Look, one of the big reasons, and so the next question, and thank you for all of that. And I love that you worked Alarmax in. We did, that whole area. And look, at the end of the day, and you play a really incredible role. This is you at Cedia, taken right through in that power green. I don't know if you can see through my green on today and support. I'm sure there's a Brian Holt today that's appreciating the green. One of the big reasons, though, why I brought you in, and just give me a little bit of grace here to go through, is talking about where the distributor makes a difference, because you weren't always with Powerhouse Alliance, and we've got other distributors. We work a lot with Powerhouse that's there. But one of the big reasons, when you first met me, Gary, we were talking about TV, and I,
Mm.
just this lowly little guy, and Uncle Gary Pradkin, coming through with Yamaha and everything else. But one of the coolest things that you did was, I was a vendor, and you said, hey, why don't you come out to the Ontario location? David Grant's going to do this training. And this is well before any alliance or anything else was going on. I sat through 2 days worth of networking classes that David did, and I didn't get charged. I came back with really credible information, from a growth perspective as a manufacturer, as an installer, or just somebody that's at the counter. And you just wrapped up a great session this morning. This is one of the big reasons I don't want to lead the horse to water, or lead the Holland horse's water to the usher there. But where in your viewpoint, you and I have been doing this for a while, where does a distributor make a difference for an installer? And more importantly, how important is a distributor for an installer's growth? And I'll let you kind of roll with that.
Yeah, it goes down to a couple of key principles. We talked a little bit about monetary, which I think is always the elephant in the room. Like, well, how do we help you with your money? We're partners. Generally you have enough account. You've got to be able to pull product and just go. Not worry about. You're not going to a Best Buy, guys, and also you're not. With the Powerhouse Alliance, you did allude to the fact that I was with other. Yeah, I spent time at Snap. I spent time with some great companies. They're. It's great in the sense of that was born out of a manufacturer who want that priority. Let's just say that. I'm not pushing one particular brand over another. This is distro. Okay, so that's a big difference right there. I
Yeah,
said independent earlier, and that's another big difference. So why is it different? Well, you're not walking in going, all right, I know I have to buy this product because it goes with this ecosystem, and my VIR is attached to that, which is a monetary point. Again, it's freedom. Okay. And so that way, when you're sending your third tier tech to me, hey, let's just use Pioneer for an example. Go to, that's my location in St. Louis or something like that. Hey, go there. Um, I know that my third tier tech's going to pick up uh, conceptualizing where maybe that first tier tech got his first start. Like you said, we trained him on networking early. We understood where his weaknesses were. I'm talking from a tech level.
Yeah.
And once I got them, their confidence up and in my stores and how and what to choose from. When you're talking about ultimately the margins and the technical details that you're putting in per your design is coming from you. I'm there to support it. I'm not starting it out telling you how to do. Ultimately, building a dumber installer, guys. We don't
Yeah.
want that. Okay, so it's important to me. It's passionate to me to understand distro in that sense, and that's why we spend so much time getting the best of the best involved in our umbrella of product offerings with the
Mm,
Powerhouse Alliance. Listen, from an
yeah.
installer point of view, I don't necessarily need you to know what Powerhouse Alliance is. I need you to know what Pioneer is. I need you to know where Rudy's from. I need you to know that because it's regional. Now it's multi-regional these days. Sure, snowbirds go from Utah, Mountain West down to Arizona. What can I do? When the conversation comes up about security, again, it's that buoyancy
So,
that we've got in distro that we're not afraid. That's
and I'm
that's
going to
key.
focus you a little bit about, every one of these dealers from, we keep picking on Rudy. Sorry, Rudy. But, they do this orange couch. And from an education standpoint, I love that because they expose to different categories, different growth. The whole reason today why, in my install days, why I do Ecobee is primarily because at Mountain West, I got challenged in a training. Why wouldn't you, as an installer, get into HVAC capability? And I looked at Nest and I looked at a bunch of different areas that's there. One of the biggest reasons today that I'm in networking and grew from networking into a really popular category of high speed, into Intellinet is somebody challenged and said, look, wireless is great, but what else can you do with wiring? And is wiring just wiring inside the house. I mean, Don and I, 2 months ago, were literally talking about extenders. Actually, it was last month, talking about extenders and the ability to go up to 2 miles worth of power there. It's absolutely huge. One of the big things, though, Gary, is, you in your past, you've done a lot of member development. You've done a lot of installer development. This is one of my favorite photos of you that's out there. But do me for just a second, as you look at the national scope, where is the future for the installer? And how does TAA, and we're going to do in this next segment talking about TAA in a big way. This is making sure that you can get into federal government, state and local kind of infrastructure there, and making sure that the products are certified, that we're not dealing with communist product, that we're not dealing with sensitive chips that could be leaking in. But what's the future for the installer today? Is it more middle market? Is it more higher end market? Do you see more and more fingers into light commercial?
Yeah. Yeah, we do, and I throw that word around, and we didn't like that. And we like the resi-commercial word or whatever
Yeah,
acronym. But regardless, that is where it's going. I don't talk to a dealer that's not at least doing 3, 4 different categories already. Whether they want to label themselves, I think sometimes that they think about, okay, what you mean? Do I have to change my truck? Do I have to change my regional licensing to reflect the
yeah.
school job that I got? So no. I think that we like to categorize that. Hey guys, you got to learn more commercial, and what does that? Is that a different SKU choice? Do I have to send my level 1 tech back to school? No, you don't. So I think that's obviously the growth part of this thing. And is that going to blur the lines? From my point of view, does that blur my CEDIA channel line and make me start paying more attention to the Infocom kind of world? I don't really want to divide them, honestly. So
That's a great.
more and more the products are absolutely applicable everywhere. It's more the power within the installer. So the installer, come on, all three of us, we know that there's room to grow. That means there's room categorically to install into. Yes, and I like, and we that's what our job is as hosts in a sense to say, hey, there is growth in this category. The products that are coming down the pipeline, whether we're faced with the tariffs and less revenue for R&D, does that mean I'm going to be faced with not the choice, or is the homeowner going to become more powerful than me? There's always that. It's like, look at when a attractive app comes out, and all of a sudden the mom and the kids and everybody's becoming the experts, I'm out of a gig. So I have to move to commercial because that's the area where I'm, again, the more prominent person. these are kind of things that, remember, guys, you have a business. For the most part, these are independent 3 to 5 man crew,
Yeah.
in install populace. And I love that, Pete.
Yeah.
That's where kind of our new blood comes in. They're the ones who are willing to take a chance on a new product because, over the counter, we're talking about it. Packet speeds continue to increase, and we all know that. We can see it. We're getting calls to continue to emulate a stronger network. So, the other part of this is, we hear a lot about AI, and I'm not training a lot on that language per se, but from an R&D perspective, make you feel good. I have to kind of learn this in a way. I have to own the AI portion that I will put my signature on, because that's a part of this. Don't get scared of it in a sense, but
Yeah.
yeah, more and more apps will continue that language and so forth. So there's lots of room to grow, dude.
No, I appreciate the insight. And look, we've been there. You and I've been at the forefront of this again and again. I'm excited, and this wasn't even planned. Dawn and I had put this on the agenda and started working on this over a month ago. We didn't know that the government shutdown was going to end as quickly as it did. But look, as soon as these funds become available, there's this pent up demand. I actually think our guys are going to be really, really busy in the field, and TA is going to be a bigger deal. Now, look, I got to out you just a little bit. For those that don't know you, you're probably one of the most gifted, talented guys. In fact, I didn't even meet you the first time. I didn't meet you on the road doing road shows. The first time I met you was in the Van Nuys parking lot, and you were up on stage playing guitar, and I just thought you were part of the talent. Now, you are very much the talent. I'll let you talk about the pictures and the picture really quickly. Here, this is you, and then this is the Dr. Love, but who is this really?
There you go. There's Mr. Gene Simmons, right? I will dovetail a little bit of what we all have some kind of expertise. I don't care if you're an angler, and how that creeps into your daily thing. But yeah, sure. I'm a musician. This is the Los Angeles studios, the powerhouse, Powercast right here. Sure, I've been in the business a long time, and as far as being an engineer, but we're all audiophiles in a sense, right? I mean, come on, look, we got into this thing largely through the attraction of either one of those media types, music or movies, right? But yeah, there you go, Gene Simmons. That was taken a couple weeks ago. But when you're talking about the end of the year now, sure, my band travels, and I've got a lot of affluent people, especially being in this town, but that particular night a couple of weeks ago, Gene is raising money for his favorite charity. We go to a $20 million house off of Zuma, and my band is set up. But importantly, what did they have there? Well, I knew the guy who was installing at that particular house. Now, it's not always influential houses, but you guys all know it. We talked about St. Louis and where Rudy's at and things like that. We've all got ball players. We're all involved in that world of making a property really speak to its populace. Gene gets up there. We were all pretty technical. And what was going on? There was TV monitors. We threw up he was doing an auction. And so it was all rudimentary, right? We're raising from $10 million up into like the $35 million range for fire victims in Malibu is really what that was at.
Huge.
But yeah, we're taking technology. They expect us to kind of help integrate that and humanize it. Gene's pretty technical, you guys. You'd be amazed. But not only just his persona, speaks for itself, but when you've got a house like that, and these are the places that he just visits, these are his buddies, right? His
Yeah.
down the street from Malibu, and that's how it is. A lot in our world is the same kind of thing. What's Fred got down the street, he's got better than Jacob over here, and we kind of fit into that world and make it all kind of work. But thanks for the
Yeah.
prop right there.
No worries.
Just
Garrett,
yeah.
if I can get you just 2 sentences, what's the best advice you could give an installer before the end of the year?
Right. I guess it's that share in knowledge. We really are a bridge between what the tech heads are out there and humanizing that language. We are who ultimately is going to smoke a cigar when that job is done. And that just means you brought that human element to your job and install. Sure, I was kind of residential there, but you're the human element. You're the one that's going to make full access into the jobs that you've previously done because of your hard work and your ability to translate code and everything else into the human context.
No, I love it. I do. Just real quick, for anybody that wants information about Powerhouse Alliance. We'll give you just the last 30 seconds, and then we're going to get to the getting on TAA and getting a little bit deeper. But if somebody wants more information about Powerhouse Alliance, where do they go? How do they get a
Yeah,
hold of you?
it's powerhousealliance.com. Obviously, I'm head of marketing there, but more importantly, Pete, let's push this off into the 9 distributors: Mountain West, UI Supply, AV Express in Texas, 21st Century, all over the country from Florida on up. Lou back over in Massachusetts with Pro Audio,
Pat
and
Verna
Rudy.
with UI.
Pat is with UI, and obviously Davis. Um, Great distributors, go there. We are in
And
support of them, and they're the ones who are fighting the good fight on getting you pricing.
And if you're looking nationally, AlarmX is always a fantastic stop, especially for your security needs. That's
Absolutely.
there. Gary, I gotta just, we're gonna see you back this afternoon. It's not goodbye, but it never feels like it's November if I don't see you or be with you. I appreciate all the years of friendship, brother. Very different call than this time last year.
Yeah.
So much, both brands in a much better place. Nothing but bright skies and great futures ahead for all of us. Brother, thank you so much. I know you got
Good.
things to do, but stick around if you want. We're
Will
going to
do.
get right into to talking about the next area of the field crew. We're going to get deeper into the TAA advantage. Now, talking about where power, when we talk about PoE capability, where power meets compliance, this is a huge area, and we want to talk to you about who we are and why we're here. We are your partner when it comes to TAA compliant networking products. And our biggest goal today is to cut through that confusion on TAA compliance. And at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is help you guys win more business. Gary's right about everything that he went through and talking about, some of the bigger opportunities that are there in both residential, but I want to talk to you about light commercial, or what the industry is calling resimercial. Those bigger contracts that are coming, when it's federal, when it's state, when it's city, gives you the ability, but there are parameters. You've got to stay within the compliance RICs. You've got to stay within compliance, and we'll talk to you about how to do that. So the basics of TAA and what this is TAA stands for the Trade Agreements Act. And this is a U.S. government rule that applies mainly to federally funded projects, although here in Texas, I am seeing a lot of TAA requirements, even in data centers, and it requires products to be made in, and Don had pointed this out earlier this morning, substantially transformed in the US or approved countries. Now, this isn't just a label. It affects what gear can legally go on the job. You can't just say, hey, we're TA, we're a US based installer. You've got to have gear that is conforming to those standards. And this applies to a lot of different areas. But if you're not playing in this category, we'd encourage you to get in. There's going to be a tremendous amount of business in this over the coming years. Now, this applies not only to government, but education, into healthcare. And one of the things that we've just recently been working on is defense contracts. Now, the single biggest one is that we want accountability. As a U.S. government, at the end of the day, we want accountability, and we want to do as much domestic protection as we can. This is going to protect U.S. manufacturers and approved trade partners. We want to reward stuff that's coming out of Taiwan. We want to reward stuff that's coming out of Germany. We want to reward stuff there, and we want to minimize our dependence on people that aren't respecting patents and IP. It ensures supply chain transparency and security. All of these approved trade partners are coming from areas that we're not having problems with, like we experienced during COVID. And the non-compliant gear for you should be an automatic disqualification. There are areas that you can blend in, but let's try to build as best we can with a full TAA. So why should you care about a TAA project? So the biggest reason today is that if your kind of middle market is waning, if your do it for me business is slowing, or you're just looking for something that's a little bit more stable, you're looking for a little bit larger project, TA is a great way to be able to get in. You can access government and federally funded job bids. It's one of the first places that you can get out and look today. Talk to your distribution counters about how to get in and start bidding on some of those types of jobs. One of the best things that I love about this is that you're going to work with some of the best general contractors that are out in the market today. Guys that play in this arena tend to show up very complete. They tend to show up in a very strong way. And then the best part about this is that if you do anything back in the residential market, the fact that you're doing work in government, specifically federal, state, city, is only going to make you look more professional across. The other things, though, that bidding on TAAs is that you're not going to get project rejection. They're going to want to see up front what's going on. All of the reworks that are there because that you bid on what's gone on, and I'm talking hypothetically, perfect world. But the big reasons that you want to utilize TAA enabled products, and just not just for these types of jobs, but for every type of job, is that allows you to stay on the right side of federal regulations, and it shows buyers that you know what type of products to do. It's something that you can brag about or certify. Hey, when I do this residential job, this is a TAA compliant. Now, you're meeting federal and government specifications that are there. In government, the compliant zones, one of the big areas today is Department of Defense, but other areas that you can get into, VA hospitals, Department of Homeland Security, courthouses, federal contractors, military base and defense installations. I was just talking with somebody yesterday. I didn't even know that they still had these on base, but he was doing a complete rewire for audio in a on-base movie theater there. It was kind of cool because he was talking, movie was coming on, and they still do the national anthem. So they do trailers, but then they do the national anthem and then come through and do the movie. Other places that you can bring that into is public education and universities. It's one of the big reasons why I'm here in Texas. Everywhere you look, there is public education, universities, but additional places that you can come into, like rail, airports, ports, and then federally funded schools as well, and institutional buildings. So TA compliant partner with Intellinet. What this means is you don't have to guess which part is safe to use. If you're on our website right now, any TA compliant product is going to have that logo pop up and let you know. And it will let you know that it comes from an approved manufacturing country and that it's backed by US support. We've got a full product range right now. Don's going to go deeper into this in terms of switches, PoE injectors, and media converters. I know there are a lot of manufacturers today that claim TAA everything. Be careful with that. Be really careful with that. Contractors and suppliers change all the time. The first box is TAA, the second box maybe. Everything that we do here is going to be hardware based with our switches, our injectors, our media converters, but they're all certified TAA, and it's verified compliance, and it's backed with some really great support. Don does an incredible job of taking care of you, and Andy as well. So putting all this into practice, here, the city of McKinney in Texas needed new IP cameras and network infrastructure. When the contractor quoted Intellinet TA compliant switches and brought in TA compliant cabling, he was able to come through and include all of that documentation in the bid package. These are the vendors that I'm working with. They are TAA. The project can theoretically get approved on the first pass. Not going back and forth, because even if the job didn't require TA certified product, you're coming through and saying, look, I am meeting federal specifications. I've got the right tool for the right job. And that gives kind of that overall confidence. Look for TA compliant callouts on our data sheets, on our website. Check the product and packaging that's there. Buy through authorized US distributors. Yes, I am well aware of all of the different four-letter websites that you can go to buy, and theoretically cheaper, and we just only have to wait a couple of weeks and bring it in. Coming to a distributor, going directly to the manufacturer's website is going to do a great job. We have great online resources if you've got any type of question at all that's going to take you right through. So at the end of the day, the biggest way that you can win more jobs and opportunities, start bidding on TAA. Offering that, not just in the federal jobs, will give you the ability to look more professional and protect yourself from project headaches. So let's talk about kind of that call to action. Don's going to go deeper into this. I just wanted to throw a few up. The gigabit PoE plus switch there. I'm a huge fan, and then a dedicated PoE injector. You want to look for this logo at the end of the day. You want to look for this logo on our website for any of those products that are out. So 5 quick myths. TA only matters for federal jobs. No, anything that's using federal or state funds needs compliance, and that includes a whole host of different areas. The other one that I've heard just recently, I was looking at a major online, retailer that's out there, that if it ships from the US, it's compliant. No, it's actually, where was it manufactured? And if it's not a shipping address, the product has to be, if it's made overseas and shipped here, it's got to be from an approved country that's out. The other big one that I'm hearing is that no, it's got to be a US made product. It can, but TAA products or TAA compliance is Taiwan, Mexico, Israel, some parts of the EU. TAA doesn't mean that it's just USA only. And then, the biggest thing that I hear is, yeah, we'd like to start doing that. Yes, I'd love to be able to specify that, we meet all federal specifications on this, but it costs too much. Well, that's one of the big reasons why you're here. Our pricing keeps you competitive. Could we charge more? 100%. We watch our competitors do this every single day, but we don't believe that compliance has to cost extra. And then the other big one that goes on is only big contractors need to care. Josh Cold Iron here in North Texas is a great example of this. This is a local installer that I just started watching come through. Josh has been working with a variety of different distributors in the area, but all of a sudden, because he got the right training, he got a little bit of a nudge, he made that successful pivot from kind of mom and pop, DIFM, to getting in and doing education, to getting in and just rewired a 911 call center. It took 3 weeks. It was a very long 3 weeks for him at 6 days a week, but you can get into some really nice, attractive, and profitable packages by bidding on these public projects that's there and using the right gear. So, one of the best parts about being here with Intellinet, we've got your got your back every step of the way. We partner with the right distributors. This is why I love seeing Rudy at Davis Distributing on the call, and having Gary Usher. The distributors that we work with have got your back. And when they don't, or if you need more information, Don's here, I'm here. We've got great technical support, documentation, and some really easy sourcing that's there. So we'll do some more callbacks at the end of this to talk about how to get started today. But we'll leave you with this. Here's just a quick checklist, and I don't want to continue to drain, every single slide. Just identify where the funding is. If it's federal or state, you've got to go TAA. Spec your gear, gather the documentation that you're going to need, verify, whether or not the distributor is there, and then get ready to start installing. Now, with that said, and Don, if you're okay, I'll just advance where you need me to. But why don't we kick this off and have Don come in and talk about TAA.
All right, sounds good. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for TAA products, we're launching a lot of these, and pretty cool thing about them is our new products that are coming out from Taiwan, the TAA ones. These are all some of our more advanced. So for me, these are the most exciting ones. And we really have three category types we're going to talk about today. We have the 2.5G switches. 2.5G switches, we're going to talk about a little bit more. They're great for Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. Also, if you have a home network, like a home network attached server, a file server, maybe you have some stuff in your home lab that's really cool and you're hosting your own like services. Well, a 2.5G or 10G switch means you can get to those much faster. And the other product we're going to talk about is our new industrial PoE injectors. So these are much smaller and they can fit into a much so they're about like half of the size they used to be, which is pretty cool because now we can get these into smaller spaces. We can wire them with a Phoenix connector. And in addition, a lot of these are also media converters. So you have a media converter, and then you have, on the other side, you'll have a PoE injector. So the issue might be, if you've ever run, so for colleges, when we were taking networking classes, they'd always show us how they did the networking around the campus. So where I went at Santa Fe by UF, they showed us we had one line of fiber from Santa Fe to the main campus at UF. Well, they also, if they then needed one of those connectors not to go to the network, but to go to a security camera, that's where a PoE injector with a media converter would come in. because we would have that fiber connection between the two campuses, but maybe we wanted our own security camera on their campus, or we needed a guard post. So there's a lot of stuff like that you can do, and we're going to go to the next slide. So
Sorry.
oh, you're good, you're good. So we have those three components: the 10 gigabit switches, 2.5 gigabit switches, and then our Intellinet industrial PoE injectors. So we talked a little bit about that webpage. I think it's the next one over here. Is on the next slide. We have that. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that website, which is on the one before. But on our website, go to our Intellinet website, and you're going to see a TAA products page. And we're also going to be making a TAA YouTube video. So this talk, really, we're also going to be using this for two new YouTube videos that are coming out. Our 2.5G switches YouTube video and our 10G switches video. And those are going to be coming out within the next 2 or 3 weeks. The 2.5G one is out, and I'm going to plug it in a minute. But our 10 gigabit video is going to probably come out in the next month or two. So we have it all recorded, and then we're really going to talk about why these products, to me, are some of the most exciting that we have. So these 2.5G switches, now when we're looking at this, we're doubling internet speed. So a lot of us, if we're talking residential, we don't have a 2 gigabit fiber connection coming into our house. Would be awesome. Call of Duty, a lot of video games would be much faster with 2 gigabit internet. The reality, however, is most people have about a gig. Or maybe they have a little bit more than a gig if they're paying $100, $200. But we're talking businesses, there could be more than a gig. So what these switches are good for is getting a faster local network connection. So for example, if I'm running in my office, in the office here at Intercom, we have file servers, we have a Windows Active Directory server like every company. Now, once we add these type of switches, accessing all of those servers is much, much faster. We have our marketing server, all of this, but with the 2.5G switch, and even with a fiber connection, you can do a lot more of them. So what's exciting about our PoE Plus ones is that we have high power. So we have 60 watts on select ports. So if you have maybe two pan tilt zoom cameras, you could power them with this instead of needing also a PoE switch or a PoE injector. And then you can use the other ports for lower powered devices, like maybe some security cameras that are 10, 15 watts, or some computers on your network. So we have really the 9-port here and the 6-port both have that high power option. When we're talking about 2.5G, the other big thing is those wireless access points, like the Eero access point. That is an amazing product, and this is really designed for Eero. If you have something like that with a Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 7, you run this out to it. Because they're faster Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7, they use a little bit more PoE than normal. So your average access point might use 5 watts. A Wi-Fi 6 or 7 would use 20. So now we're looking at, okay, I need a bigger budget for these PoE products, and that's where these 2.5G switches really shine. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll talk a little bit about the next product. So yeah, our 10G switches are Ethernet. So when we're talking about Ethernet, there's no PoE, but this 10G switch is going to be, as we discussed in our 10G switches video, which is going to come out in a couple weeks, at 10G, when you're using the network connection, you're writing to that server faster than you can to your SSD. So we use these for marketing, for video editing, for production. If I have a video on our NAS, we have Synology, like the high-end, best ones out there for NAS's network attached servers. I can just edit the video from the server. And now instead of having an issue where if I was using that 1G switch, it's going to be slow. I'm going to download the video. That's going to take a half an hour, move it to my computer, edit it, then render it. It's going to take another like 2 hours. So when we're talking about video editing, marketing teams, we want these 10G switches. They're TAA compliant, like all the products we're talking about today. And what it lets you do is edit directly to the NAS. Your speeds are so much faster that you don't want to download it. You're just going to edit it right on the server. So we have 2 products here. We have a 10 port, we have a 5 port. The one that we really want to focus on for these is making a fast LAN segment. So whenever we're talking about networking, our LAN is the section that is all in our office. We can do a lot with it, but we're making fast segments here for these servers. We could also do this if we have some of those really high resolution cameras. We would want to connect them to this, so it goes back to our MVR and we get clear pictures. So once we get above 10G, then we start getting into where we're talking about data centers. And this is more for an enterprise IT, maybe like a mid-size office IT team. You want something like this where you can move that data faster around the network. So we have 2 SKUs or 2 products. We have the 562.218, our 10 port, and we have the 562.201, which is our 5 port. Okay, let's go to the next one here. So yeah, just kind of like an overview of the 2.5Gs. We have these 2 here. We're going deeper in the 2.5G. We have the 562.096. That is for the Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. They're networking. And oh, these are just our Ethernet. We have both PoE and non-PoE. So these ones here, it looks like these are just our Ethernet ones. So if you don't need PoE, but you want to have that faster Ethernet, these would actually be great for home installs. So you just install the Synology NAS. Your users have all of their home videos, all of their images, all of the videos maybe they bought. Let's just say they bought, put it on a Plex server, and they're going to stream around the house. So now you want to sell them one of these switches, because if you don't, they're going to have 1G speeds and they're going to have slow streaming to their own house. Now they have double the speeds when they're streaming on that device that comes from their own house. So these also have those 10G uplinks where we could provide faster speeds back to that network. So these are great for IT, mid-size IT offices, and then when we're talking about a home theater, a home network, where we have a streaming device that we own. And that's becoming more and more common, where a lot of people are saying, hey, I have this entire stack of videos from VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Why am I paying 4 providers $20 a month when I could load all of my favorite movies onto my Plex server? And Plex is a server that runs on your Synology or other NAS, and it lets you basically make your own Netflix. You can do the same thing with Spotify. You can make your own Spotify. I have one of these running at my house. We put all of my parents' favorite music on there, and then I made it actually as a birthday present, where when my parents live in an RV, half of the year they go out into the desert and spend a week or 2 in the desert. So now they have a home server where they can stream it from anywhere in the RV. We have it all wired, and these switches are the ones that really make that project just work so much better. Okay, so when we're talking about those SFP plus ports, which we have on the 562.096, what's really great about them is you can use DAC cables or you can use fiber. So maybe you have a distance that you can't cover with PoE, you can run a fiber cable. Going back to that example that I use a lot for fiber is UF. UF has part of the backbone of the internet. When we look at how the internet is created here in Florida, it goes from the major cities, and we have backbone centers. Like we have several in Tampa, one in Lakeland that's an 8-story building of just servers. UF also has something like that. And then we have fiber cables that connect all of these backbone centers, which are just all of these servers. So you could have something like that where you connect one site to another, or you could connect, maybe going back to the university, The library has its own services that are internal. So we'd run a fiber cable from the library to the Department of Education, our education building. And now you can access library resources from the education building that might be a half an hour walk between the two. And we can do all that with one fiber cable. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Cool. So this is the new product that I'm also really excited about. These are our TAA-compliant injectors and extenders and media converters. And they're also really small. So they're about half of the size of our usual ones. And what you can do with these is they're high-powered, they're industrial, and they have this smaller form factor. So we'll wire these up with a Phoenix connector. You can see already that they take up half the space. And you can set these up. These ones here, the little one, in the middle here, we can see that these will let us connect that fiber. And then at the end, we can put a Ethernet connection and have a security camera there. So we can connect two sites with fiber, and then we can inject power. So that's something that's really great for all of your jobs you're gonna be able to do, is connect those two offices, connect those two campuses, and then put a security camera at the guard post at the start of it. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Yep.
And yeah, so this is just kind of our wrap up where we're saying, okay, we have three really great categories for TAA compliant products. We have our 10 gigabit Ethernet switches. We have 2.5G Ethernet switches. We have both PoE and non-PoE for 2.5G switches. And what we want to remember for 2.5G and 10G is these are what you want for customers with a home theater. These are what you want if the customer has like a Plex server or they have that like home Netflix experience. Because even on sailboats, we're putting these more and more in where you want to be able to stream and you don't want to pay for the Starlink, or you might just not be able to get Starlink in the middle of the ocean. But being able to watch a video, the same thing on the RVs when we put them in, you want to be able to watch a video wherever you are. So 2.5G switches and making a fast local area network is a great way to do that. So we're also talking here about the PoE injectors that we have, and these new smaller form factor industrials are going to save you space. You can get them into places you couldn't before. The housing is half the size of what they used to be. You can plug them into the Phoenix connector, and that's one way where you get around the PoE barrier of 300 feet or 100 meters, is because with these Phoenix connectors, you just run a wire directly out to them. If you've ever like wired a ceiling fan, it's pretty much the same. You just split your positive and negatives, plug them in, and that distance is much longer than it would be a PoE. So you can get these into more remote places and then get a security camera, maybe in what would otherwise be a dead corner. Like when we have them here at our warehouse, the guys that have worked there for years and years, they know where the security cameras are. So if they're like texting, they're like always behind like 2 or 3 spots. Now we went back in like a week ago and we put in all new cameras. We had new tools and we could catch all those little dead spots. We still haven't told anybody, but it's kind of funny. You can see where people thought there was a dead spot and now we're like, oh, there's no longer dead spots in the warehouse. So let's go to the next slide. And yeah, so everything we talked about today really goes into 2 of our great YouTube videos that are coming out. We have a video about 2.5G switches and a 10 gigabyte switch video. And really what we wanted to talk about today was TAA compliance, because our TAA products are great. These are all of our newer products we're coming out with TAA. And we're going to continue to grow this. I've talked with product. I've talked with our partners that go out and kind of do the R&D where they say, hey, what products do we want? And our team in Germany that works on that in the product team. And TAA compliance is something we're really going to grow because it's so useful for even our home installers. They might not be putting something in a military base, but being able to say the product I'm using is so good, I could put it into a military base. That's the type of thing that somebody like a barbecue is going to brag about. And that's going to get you more business because he's going to talk about it at the barbecue, and then you're going to get more people wanting to use your service. So really that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to hand it over to Pete. If you guys have any questions, you can always give us a call at the tech support number. We'll be happy to help you.
Excellent. And I'm going to go just apologetically a little bit quicker so that I can get you guys all out. You invested an hour in us, and I want to give you as close to that hour as I can. So let's talk a little bit about the Field Crew program and just growing. We have a commitment to partner success. Everything that we're doing here is talking about products real world. I started the training talking to you about that. We're going to continue to do that, of things that are there to support and thrive in the installer market. It's a collaborative growth strategy. If you see something that we should be focusing on, or you want us to get a little bit more deeper in, we've got great brand and visual identity between the Intellinet and Manhattan names. There's a lot of different cross promotions that you can do. We're running specials right now every single month at your distributors, and we've got core SKUs that reflect your needs. These are products real time there, and then we're trying to prioritize some of the things that are there, and we're streamlining across the board and supporting products that really get you into a deeper area. One of our big partners, now we talked a little bit about Eero, we'll also talk very quickly. Big news in December, we're going to have Island back talking about, just their enterprise grade wired routers, compatibility with any access point. And when you couple those with our PoE switches and even better PoE++, and TAA, you've got an award-winning combination. We like Island a lot. There's other brands that are out there. We like Island just because of some of the differences. They're faster in terms of code. We like some of the safety factors that they have, and it's very, very easy to be able to deploy. They've got two dedicated models, the Island Pro and just the standard. There you can find this at a majority of the distribution that's out today. What I love, and Josh does a great job of talking about it, they've got some great one-on-one trainings, they've world-class support for over 4 decades, and then they've got great channels across. In the final 3 minutes with y'all, I just want to have you get your phone out. We're going to take some quick photographs across. These are QR codes that are going to direct you through. The first one you want to take a photo of right now is our Performance Pro program. That's that QR code in the upper right-hand side. And then the second photo, very quickly, that you want to take is the ability to call into our tech support hotline. That's Dawn and a whole great team of people there, and that's 888-844-2636, 888-844-2636. Going, gone. Here we go. There's our social media field crew. If you shoot this QR code, it should give you the ability to upload photos from the field. We'd love to see your racks. We'd love to be able to see any of your outdoor projects. Anybody doing work with Extender or doing their TAA, send a photo in, tag that, and we'd love to feature that in our social media, give you a little bit of publicity as well. If you're looking for the socials, we've got on Facebook, LinkedIn, dedicated engagement, and a really awesome website. I'm going to have you click on Facebook. That's going to pop up a QR code. Let's bump right over, take another one that's going to take you to our LinkedIn page. Let's take you to another that's going to go to our website, and then the dedicated engagement. Don's done an absolutely incredible job right now on our switches and everything else. We've got an active YouTube network of some great videos. There's our great phone number again to be able to take you through. There's one other area that you can contact us. If you need sales support, 1-813-855-0550 during business hours. We'll be able to take care of you. Great technical support number, 888-844-2636. And then if you have any overall inquiries, you can always email us at sales@icintercom.com. So why choose Intellinet at the end of the day? Really, we want to talk to you about reliable products, high quality PoE switches, some great network, and even better rack mount systems. Don and I are trying to provide as much support on these types of calls, but Don's there with a dedicated support hotline, and we're here. We're focused on CDA. We're focused on security. We're getting even deeper, as Don mentioned, into TAA, and we'd love to be able to take and help you out, just with Intellinet network solutions. So the good news is in December, we're going to do a best of 2025. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about what PoE means, where that is, and why that's so important. We're going to talk to you about PoE++. We'll dip back into Island Router. We'll talk a little bit about great installation practices, and kind of wrap up what's been a good 2025. We know that you've got a ton of different projects, that you're trying to complete, get out there. Please be safe. Please be good to yourself. Lots of breaks. Let's work cleanly and smartly, and let's all come together, for Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday, and then wrap up this great year. And we'll see you sometime in December. We'll be sending that announcement out. Now go out, be good to one another, be good to yourselves, and we'll see you in the month of December. Thank you all.